Earth Quadrant Alpha, 19 million sectars by...
Epsilon Vector 22 on a circular reckoning course of 000.9.
Well, it's a colonial emergency locator signal. And no other wireless in the fleet is picking this up.
Gate has confirmed it. The channel's empty except for this Viper. It's gotta be a signal from Earth.
In a star system with 9 planets and 1 sun.
All of this has happened before.
But the question remains, does all of this have to happen again?
Battlestar was an amazing show because it really took the audience, and I don't care how old you were, what background you had, it really had this underlying epic story that everybody could relate to, everybody wondering, was there any kind of human civilization out there? But really, what would I do if I was in a life and death circumstance where every day the choices and decisions I made would challenge me and test me and see who I was, what I was made of? Where every day you didn't know whether you're the hero, the failure, the good guy, the bad guy, where you never knew what was going to come out of you, and yet somehow, some way, you had to make your peace with that. Battlestar put every character in the most trying, challenging circumstance possible, and then the whole drama was about what do these characters do.
Science fiction didn't have the audience it enjoys today. We've lived through a lot of space launches and a lot of things that really made it science actuality. So as the audience matured and became more comfortable with it, suddenly there was a chance to tell a lot of people's stories. And the idea that people might have visited this planet or have been instrumental in settling it, all of these various possibilities fascinated me. So I wrote something that reflected theologically the idea that man here may have started out there. And we hope that people would be the unifying factor, so it wasn't just about the monster of the week. It was about people with real problems.
Great science fiction was always used as a prism through which the culture could look at itself and sort of provide a safe haven to talk about the issues of the day without all the accompanying hysteria or emotion that tend to accompany those types of discussions. It's really only been in the last 30 years that science fiction became escapist. It was always intended to be a serious genre, a genre that would give you an opportunity to sort of look at each other, to look at ourselves, and to be able to discuss things that are maybe uncomfortable to discuss in a non-fantasy environment. And so yes, this show, like the great science fiction of old, will continue to investigate the issues of the day that might not be traditionally associated with the genre in a contemporary sense.
I think Shakespeare said, hold the mirror up to nature and show everybody a bit, whilst in a package that allows people to escape on some level, because this is, it's not our world quite yet, thank God.
This is the same story. It's just told differently.
It's hard to believe that Battlestar Galactica debuted some 35 years ago. And when I have to think back about, where I was at that time, it was such an extraordinary time of change for me, because all actors want to make it in this business. We all want to, to find that signature role, something that will kind of put us out there in the front where people begin to recognize us. And Battlestar, for me, became that show for me. And I had no idea that Battlestar would end up being that show for me, because as much as I love science fiction, I had said no to being on the show when they asked me, to come out and audition for it, because I thought it was going to be another Star Wars rip-off type thing, and I had no idea what the story was about, the mythology was about. And when I got a chance to read the script, see all this incredible Ralph McQuarrie art, I was absolutely blown away.
This was something really special, really different. I mean, you could feel it. Being on the set, working on that set, you could absolutely feel that this was a different project and worth doing. And so, yes, I accepted it, and I'm so happy I did. And the most important thing is that the fan base from that show, from the very beginning, the positive feedback after the pilot aired, 25 years later, it's just mind-boggling that people have stayed with it that long.
It's amazing that this show, which I'm sure the executives would never in their wildest dreams have thought would come back in 30 years or even be remembered. You know, after this basically 23, 24 episode show, the Battlestar seems to always have had something that touched people, stirred people's hearts, caught their imagination, and the show's been brought back in a format where we can truly celebrate the epic Battlestar story of life and death.
Many people declare this to be one of the most prolific shows ever created for television, especially after the consciousness raising that was brought about by the 9/11 situation. Now it becomes really easy to see that the annihilation of the human species could become a reality real quick, much quicker than we would anticipate and want.
I think Battlestar really broke the mold for science fiction shows on TV. They got very gritty. It gives the show a feeling of impending doom, or just really keeps the pressure up all the time. And the camera work and the editing, it's indicative of a population under great stress.
That the show was about something, that it was about a lot of issues that people are too scared to talk about. And it was about the hope for a better world, for the end of racism, for the end of ignorance. That you could look at yourself and see, you know, who really is the bad guy, because there aren't any bad guys, I don't think. I mean, as far as war goes, you know?
I think the popularity of the show is a combination of chemistry, a wonderful story with so many elements in it that certainly the science fiction is always proven to be very successful. This had something different. It had religion, mythology, it had all those elements in it. And I think once all the characters came together, and the sets and the special effects and the makeup and the costumes and the relationships between the people were so wonderful, and those were solid.
You start to see these people's experiences and how they deal with it, and you find yourself, your own humanity in every one of us.
The premise of Battlestar Galactica is not conducive to relationships. It's conducive to snatched moments of passion and release. It's not conducive to sustained emotional commitment because people are being tested on so many psychological levels.
Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? That line fades away. You would think that the humanity is the way that one would always root for humanity. You do until you don't. And you start to realize how, extremely difficult the decisions are that have to be made, and how those decisions just go against what we feel to be things that we should, not do, or that if you do them, you really are playing with your values jarred or in disrepair.
I'd be happy if people realize and remember the quality that was put into it, and the attention that was paid to the kind of the minutia, and I think that's what really a lot of the fans why they can really get into it, and discuss it amongst themselves, because just watching it, you have to pay attention to it. You have to be smart to enjoy the show, or it goes right over your head, and it's not a couch potato type show. And I think it's something that will live on in terms of discussing where we were in society at the time, and how kind of pinpointing on economic issues and political issues and personal issues that the show has touched on.
I think all of us, and I say this with a whole lot of respect for everyone's opinion, but I really believe that all of us have found this to be an extraordinary experience that one we will never forget, and are very grateful for.
I think the beauty of Battlestar is its timeliness. And so when I think about what happens with this 10 years from now, I think that's going to be part of what's so extraordinary about it, is that you'll see people in a pretend environment struggling with, coping with the issues that historically were accurate. And as a measurement of humanity's choosing to either continue to destroy itself or to remove themselves from the polarized thinking and move themselves into a global consciousness, this show could be quite a little memento. And I just think on a purely human level, this story is reflecting the internal dilemma, that's manifesting itself in war and destruction.
This is a show that I think is going to transcend generations, and I think that it's a show that I'll be able to show my children, and they will enjoy it as much as I do when I watch it. And I really think that that's enough to leave behind. It's an extremely intelligent show. It's never once talked down to the audience. It always gave them credit to be able to follow storylines that were extremely intelligent and thought-provoking. It's such a great show that I don't think we'll have to remind people that it was around.
I have to tell you that when here I am 30 years later, and I'm being asked to come on the new Battlestar, and I was incredibly conflicted. I had put so much time, energy, and money into trying to inspire a revival. I had written novels, comic books. I had helped create the BattlestarGalactica.com website, and I had traveled around the country really trying to raise awareness and create an energy, a little bit like what happened for Star Trek.
When I came to this project, the idea of a continuation with the original cast, with some members of the original cast, and continuing the story of Galactica had already gone through the process and had died a death at Universal and Sci-Fi and UPN or Fox. I kind of forget which network was about Fox. I was asked, what do you want to do with Galactica? And I said, okay, this is what I want to do with it. Now at that point they were free to say no. They could have said, no, we're interested in going this other direction. But they said no. They said, yes, go do it. So I went and I did it. I don't make any apologies for that. I mean, if I asked you what you want to do with Galactica, your answer would be something different than mine. But I was the guy that was asked, and I was the guy that sat in a room and had to come up with the idea and had to come up with the prompt with the approach to the material, and I had to give it my best shot at what I thought I could do with it. And when they agreed to do that, I went forward with it.
When I got a chance to listen to Ron Moore, I realized that no matter how different it was from the original, it had a vision. It had this intelligence behind it, and I knew that Ron was an artist. Ron was a gifted, talented producer, writer who had something to say. And that kind of opened this door, I think, for me to kind of, explore and entertain the possibility of doing something on this new Battlestar when Ron really, was gracious enough to basically contact me and ask me if I wanted to be part of it. But I had learned from the past, and so I decided that maybe I would start saying yes in my life. And by the way, that's a big lesson, learn how to say yes. And I said yes, and it opened the door to this amazing 5 years on the new Battlestar. Got to be on the show, got to meet Edward Olmos, Mary McDonnell, got to work with these wonderful actors. All in all, when I think about this Battlestar Galactica experience, 35 years ago, the original, moving 35 years later to the reimagined version, really those are like bookends in my career, in my life. Two families of actors and performers that I fell in love with, that I bonded with, that became my second family. And then realizing that what we did went out there and touched the world. It's an amazing experience to feel like you're part of something that touches the world and changed a lot of people's lives. To be part of something that moves people, touches people, and a show that people remember and probably will remember for the rest of their lives. That's the most amazing feeling as an actor, to feel like you had a positive impact on people. And to be part of a show, two great shows, that really left such an imprint on people.
10 years from now, what I want is not for people to remember the show, but for people to be discovering the show. I think the show will stand alone as a sort of experience that you can have over a couple of weeks with a DVD or a download or whatever. And the most gratifying thing would be for people to say in 10 years' time, hey, I just saw Battlestar Galactica for the first time.
I honestly think that Battlestar will come back over and over again and maybe even become more successful in the future, because it's a show that has so much to share, so much insight, so much about exploring the human spirit and really delving into who we all are as, you know, deeply flawed, imperfect human beings with the ability to aspire to greatness. And I think Battlestar brings that out in everybody when you get a chance to watch that show. And I think it's going to continue to grow and reach succeeding generations. And I look forward to seeing where it's going to go and what's going to happen in the future.